Okay, hello guys. So today we have 14th April 2023 and the new Metallica album's coming out. But I've seen it yesterday in the cinema. So I'm going to give you my first thoughts after the first listen. And let's start it with my English is not perfect. I'm from Poland and also I'm not a musician, I'm not a guitarist or drummer, so I don't know the music theory. This is just going to be a huge Metallica fan opinion. I'm a Metallica fan for 10 years, pretty much a fanboy. My favorite band, definitely all of them. And so this is a true, honest Metallica fan opinion. It's not a review, it's the first feel of the album um, after the first listen. Okay, so let's start. Let's start with was it better than I expected after hearing the singles? And I would say that yes and no, because there were some elements in the tracks that really surprised me. I mean, there weren't very like weird, surprising, like completely not a Metallica thing. But there were some moments in few tracks I've heard that really surprised me, especially in Amorata, the closer, the closing track. Sorry for not looking into the camera, but I have a problem with that. This is my first video on YouTube ever. Um, so in Inamorata, like in the middle of the song, like there was a section that sounded like Geezer Butler, and Robert Trujillo said it in the interview that it's like Geezer Butler's influence, and it really was so beautiful. I mean, in Metallica did some moments like that before. For example, in the end of the line, towards the end of the song, some gems. But this was different, and then the guitar harmonies were very interesting. I mean, something different. Kirk and James did in that track. I mean, this is the longest song they've ever did, so that's interesting. And it's a closer. It was one of the best songs, I think, outside of the singles, uh, the best one. Um, but I gotta tell you that few tracks I was disappointed with. Also, I was very tired yesterday when I went to cinema. I had a very hard day at work, and I didn't sleep well, so I also wasn't like 100% focused. But few tracks I pretty much like almost fell asleep because I didn't hear, well, maybe one riff in a song that I was like, okay, that's pretty good. And then the rest of the track was like so forgettable and uninspiring and just the same shit over and over again. So that's a bad thing about this record is that this record is kind of a hardwired too. And I was thinking if I like it better than hardwired to self-destruct. And I would say that some elements are better and some elements are worse on this record. And maybe I'm gonna make a review in the future, and then I'm gonna put some details into this. And well, the singles definitely grew on me. You know, like especially if Darkness Had a Song and Screaming Suicide really grew on me, and the title track Lux Eternia I kind of liked from the first listen, and I didn't love it. Now I kind of love it. It was one of the best songs yesterday when I was listening. Like I really enjoyed it. It's a fun track, really good, very short, just like Hardwired when they surprised with Hardwired in 2016. Um, well, there are a few tracks that are kind of really, like I've said, just forgettable and nothing new. And Hardwired has some sounds like that too. So they're kind of similar. It's kind of as Hardwired to this record. It was hard for me to compare Hardwired to Def Magnetic because they're so different. Now these two records, it's gonna be easier to compare them because they're pretty similar. Hardwired had a lot of load and reload influences in some of the tracks, Mankind, Dream No More, and few others. And this album also have this mid-tempo songs, a lot of them, but they're not in a way they're not load and reload influenced. I didn't feel load or reload at all yesterday in the cinema. I've heard Black Sabbath. I've heard, well, they were talking about Thin Lizzy, the band, in the interview between the songs. Well, I don't listen to Thin Lizzy almost, so it's hard for me to tell. But maybe there are some dark songs. There are some like one song reminded me of "Here Comes Revenge" a little bit. So yeah, I mean, overall, I have mixed feelings about it. And outside of singles and Inamorata and maybe one more song, the rest of the tracks, I've had, like one riff in a song or one section that I really liked, or two sections, and then the rest of the song, like the chorus, the verse, I didn't care at all. The endings were so similar in those songs. The endings were so similar, and I've talked to two girls after the album ended in the cinema, and they said that the endings were so similar. And I said, "Wow, I felt the same shit," and that's something not that's not good because, well, they're not. Metallica kind of lost it. They're too old, I guess. They don't have that passion that they had back in the day. But I'm not mad at them. They did so many things over the 40 years, 4 decades. I mean, I'm still happy that they made this album. I'm a Metallica fanboy, so I'm gonna forgive them anything. Yeah. Not gonna edit the video, so it's gonna be kind of weird, but whatever. Okay, what to say more? The solos. I didn't focus on Kirk's solos because I was tired yesterday, and it's always hard for me to focus on a guitar solo for some reason. I have to really pay attention, and so, but I think they were good. I think he did better solos than on Hardwired, but I don't know. I have to listen to the album again. When it comes to vocals, um, well, some of the verses and choruses were kind of weird to me, and didn't I didn't see any vocal melody that I really loved. But some of them were good. I think I preferred the hardware to self-destruct vocals. The melodies, James's voice, I think was a little bit better. Maybe he was still a little younger, so but he wrote better vocal melodies on hardware, I think. But there were some good choruses, especially on the singles. There were some good choruses and verses. Some good moments, catchy and interesting. Some surprising. Some vocals were surprising on this album. That's for sure. Okay, the riffs. Well, I would say Hardwired to Self Destruct overall had better riffs than this record. I think these riffs were even less creative. Well, on Hardwired, the riffs were pretty creative. Actually, that was one of the strongest things about that record. These riffs, overall, there were some good and surprising riffs for sure, but a lot of them were kind of forgettable for me. So on Hardwired, I think I loved every riff pretty much. Really, like every single riff that James wrote on Hardwired, I loved. And And this record, I don't think so. I think a lot of riffs are boring to me. So that's kind of, nah. Okay, let's talk about drumming. Okay, Lars Ulrich is worse and worse with age when it comes to drumming. And well, on this record, he didn't show anything interesting, anything at all. Like anything. His drumming was so fucking boring, so uninspiring, so lazy. There were some catchy moments, but with the snare fills, of course, like on Hardwired, but even the dynamic, like on Hardwired, he pretty much had still the strength in his arms, I think, in his legs, and he could kind of play faster. Right now, I think, well, I don't know, maybe it was a lot of addition in the drumming parts, but I mean, the drumming is pretty much, I think, the worst thing about this album. But I didn't even pay attention to it because I knew it's gonna be like that. I just didn't care at all. And Lars just is worse and worse with age, unfortunately. But I don't blame him. He's done so many things in Metallica outside of drumming, business and everything. Okay, let's go. The bass. Well, I'd have to listen to the album more and more. But there, well, in Inamorata, the bass part is beautiful. It's pretty simple but beautiful. And the intro to 72 Seasons, the title track, there were some moments. He had moments like on Hardwired, pretty much. I love Rob. I think he's a great bassist, and he doesn't have a lot of plays, a lot of how to say that. Um, he has to really work hard to fill some good bass parts in those Metallica songs, like on Death Magnetic, Hardwired, and 72 Seasons, because there's not a lot of space for him to fill. James's riffs and Lars's drumming and Kirk's solos are hard to fill with bass. Well, Cliff obviously did it very well, but that was different. That was a different era of music. The albums were produced in a different way. They had a different mix, so it's hard to compare, right? Well, Jason Newsted even had more bass on like Black Album Load and Reload and Garage Inc. But yeah, Rob I think did a good job. I think actually the biggest improvement from Hardwired to this album is Kirk, because first of all he wrote something. He wrote the main riff on 72 Seasons, and I don't know if he wrote something else. And I think his solos are overall better. Well, there were some good solos on Hardwire, like Spit Out the Bone solo, or I don't know, I don't remember, Dream No More, maybe now that we're dead. But here, overall, I would say his solos were better than on Hardwire. So he did the biggest improvement from Hardwired to this record, in my honest opinion. But I'm not a guitarist, so you can criticize my opinion, and it's just my opinion. Okay, I've said already that there were a lot of Black Sabbath influences and Thin Lizzy. The production was good, was crispy, just like Hardwired, maybe even better this time. Greg Fidelman is a good producer. I like him. Well, I've listened this year. I've listened to a lot of Slipknot. What was that Slipknot record uh, from 2019? We Are Not Your Kind. He also produced this record, and it didn't surprise me because it sounds really good, and it sounds kind of like Hardwired in a way. In a way, I like Greg Fidelman's production. Well, it's not perfect, maybe. Maybe it's too perfect, actually. Like Black Album has that like dark element to it. This album is pretty much like a perfect like polished metal, very smooth. And there were some additions, like with Lars's drumming, I think, and I don't know James's vocals. Maybe he doesn't have such a great voice anymore, so they had to do some things. But he definitely did a great job, and well, yeah, Greg Fidelman I really like. Um, and let's say a little bit about the interviews. The interviews between the songs were interesting, but they've said a few things about the song, about each song, how they feel about it, and Rob and Kirk and James had some interesting thoughts about the songs, and Lars didn't have any interesting thoughts about the songs, and I think he just doesn't care. He just doesn't pay attention. I think he just has some other things in his life, and Metallica record for him is more like the next step. But musically, he didn't care. I think like that much. Um, well, maybe he had a bad day when they recorded those interviews. Maybe he had a bad day, and maybe he just didn't have the energy, the emotions to say something interesting. But he really did say, I felt like, I'm back in high school again, and my friend is talking with teacher and is saying bullshit just because doesn't know anything. And Lars felt that, but maybe I'm too harsh right now. I love Lars. I'm not blaming him, but that was weird. But the interviews were cool, and the music videos were interesting. There was a lot of animations in it, but the visuals on these videos are so much better than hard right videos. And hard right videos I liked, but these videos are much fucking better in my opinion. And I love the visuals, and there were a lot of psychedelic videos, but in a Metallica way. It didn't feel like a Tool or some weird psychedelic band video. It was psychedelic, but it was in a Metallica way. So it was very professional and very well. I appreciate it. So very very good job by artists who made videos. They really fit the songs. Really fit the songs. So the artists that made videos are very good. They did a very good job, in my honest opinion. And the videos are pretty much, I think, one of my favorite things about this record. Um, and let's talk about cinema a little bit. I was in Cinema City in Poznan, Poland, and it was so shitty. The the sound was so like it was way too fucking uh, silent. It wasn't loud enough, and I don't understand why. And there were some moments in few of these tracks that I really wanted to dig. I was like, "Yeah, this is good a riff," but it was not loud enough for me to enjoy it fully. And I don't know. I mean, that was a huge disappointment. And I don't know if it was just my cinema or Cinema City in general, or everywhere it was not loud enough. But I mean, I was so disappointed with it, but that's life, it just happens. Okay, so let's rate the album after the first listen. I'm a Metallica fanboy, so maybe I'm a little bit too optimistic. Maybe I should criticize it more, but I love Metallica so much. It's hard for me to hate this album or dislike this album, especially that I liked a few tracks and few moments in the other songs. I'm gonna give this album right now a 6 out of 10. I think it's a good, for me, it's a good rating because 5 is like in the middle, neutral. So 6 is, I like it a little bit. and I kind of feel that about this record. But I like it a little bit. So I'm giving it a 6 out of 10. I'm gonna listen to it more and more. Maybe I'm gonna make a review. This is more like an opinion right now. First thoughts. And yeah, so guys, please let me know if you like the record. Do you agree with my opinions? Do you disagree? And with comment what you think. And I hope you, even if you don't like this album, I hope you're gonna like find a way to enjoy it still. Celebrate that this is probably the last Metallica album. I mean, they're old, and you can see James really aged recently. So find a way to celebrate it. This is the last Metallica album, and we should, as Metallica fans, even if we don't like everything about this record, and I don't like everything about this record, as I've said, but we should definitely, mm, kind of find a way to celebrate it because this is their last record, and they're doing it for 40 plus years. So they're not gonna make another Master of Puppets. Everyone knew it. So I hope you will find a way to enjoy this record and celebrate it. Give me write your thoughts on in the comments, and yeah, um, that's everything. Hello, guys. Bye.